Parliament to me. But I used to look at her making her speeches and thinking, my God, this woman's like UKIP. She's exactly like us. And she took great, great pleasure in standing there time and time again and defying the boos and the catcalls and the hisses and the general unpleasantness that our lovely European politicians give. And she faced them down with a tough approach and then afterwards a cheeky grin. And it's brilliant. This is a lady who has defied the odds in the European Parliament, who stood her ground, and in Germany is in the vanguard of an organisation which is fighting its way to the top. They are actually taking seats. They are actually breaking the establishment. This is a great opportunity for us in this room tonight to be one of the greatest stars, I believe, in European politics, and someone who I honestly, genuinely think actually has all the makings of, and I said this before and she was quite shy, but I think a German Iron Lady. I think this is the German equivalent of their need for a Margaret Thatcher, their need for a great, superb Prime Minister and leader. I think we're in the presence tonight of this lady because her views, her ideas, her strength of character and her personality are so forceful that certainly I can't imagine anyone standing in the way. I can't think of it. And I've seen a steamroller the opposition in the European Parliament. It's been a great pleasure for me. So, I've rattled on long enough. I want to introduce you to one of my best friends from European politics and one of the greatest politicians in Europe today. Ladies and gentlemen, a massive welcome for Beatrix von Storch.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, and I think you've really made it almost impossible for me now to not disappoint you in introducing me with being like Margaret Thatcher. This is something over the top. I would say. So I must say I'm sorry already now. And there's another thing I have to explain. I am not one of the better people because you said boxing makes people better. I've never done that in my life. To admit, I have done some other sports, but boxing was never one of it. What I've always done and what I always was interested in, that was politics. From the very beginning. So I was reading newspaper already when I was very little. I just have to check my watch because Bill told me I should not talk longer than 3 hours. So I was always interested in politics because I had the idea that something was going wrong. Of course, at that time I had the idea about Germany, that it was going wrong in all of Europe. I had not on my radar at that very moment when I was very little, but still I was reading newspapers and I was following politicians as one did in the 80s and 90s without internet and Facebook, imagine. But I was trying to get involved, but I never found a party which was fine for me. I was looking for something liberal, conservative, so socially conservative and financially liberal, and there was nothing. And so I got engaged in the late 90s or mid 90s. When I was concentrated in Germany in some political issues, and I founded then together with my now husband a group, and we were starting to hand out papers and to do little demonstrations and do protesting in the street and all this kind of stuff you're doing in the very beginning when you don't have a party and members of parliament where you can talk to. So we were really starting from the very beginning and trying to move basically the German society towards the better. We did that very, very heavily for years and years, I must admit. So I started off in 94, 95. It was only basically my husband now and me when we were students. And then the movement, what we founded, it became bigger and bigger. And then in the end, there was a new party founded. And this new party now is member so we gained seats in almost all regional parliaments. We've got 16 regional parliaments, and we reached, in the meantime, we reached 14 of those regional parliaments. And we gained 92 seats in the Bundestag, so in the national parliament. which is a lot. I'm telling you all of this story because even though you might sometimes think it's very hard what you're doing, and there you're facing difficult times, and you tend to give up, or you do not, you do not see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have to keep on going because you will succeed when the ideas you're believing in are right. And what I know and what I gathered is that the ideas UKIP is going for are the right ideas, and they will have the support of the people. If it's not sooner, it's later, but it will come. That's the same thing what happened for us in Germany. We did believe in what we were doing. We went on for 2 decades, and you have done that already. So I'm not telling you that there's another 20 years to come. You succeeded with what was your basic issue in the very beginning, that was Brexit. And when I come to European politics and to migration and all these European issues, I congratulate you. You took the right decision. You are now heading towards a Brexit. I know it's difficult. I know that the European politics and the European politicians and the elites do not want you to leave. They don't want to see an example of someone leaving the European Union and then succeed. Of course, they cannot allow this to happen, but it will happen nevertheless. And if all the others will stay together, or the conservatives and the socialists, I always call them all socialists. In Germany, at least, that's the case. They're all lefties. And they all stick to the same idea, and you're proposing the opposite, and you're right in doing so, and I know that the people will realize it, and then the people will support you in the very end. So you have to keep on going, and so it's important to support all the UKIP candidates on all levels. It's not only on the European level or on the national level, it's also on the local level, but it's very important to have UKIP members being voted into office so that they can show that they engage for the interests of the people, what they are doing and what Bill is doing here, what I know. I met him in Brussels, of course, in the European Parliament, and it is true. I was not in the same group from the very beginning. That has, some kinds of reasons. We were a young party, and we had to decide which group to join. I, of course, wanted to join EFDD group, which is the UKIP group led by Nigel, and others of my group wanted to join the other group. In the end, we joined the group of the Tories, but of course it was clear that in the end we managed to come over and to sit together with UKIP, where we belong to. What we think, what is moving me, and I think this is what we have in common. What is moving also UKIP, it's moving me. This is why I went to the European Parliament and now to the German Bundestag. Is we want to keep our countries the way they have been. We don't want to change it. We don't want to see it changing towards something completely different, even though the elites and all the other parties are telling us that's the better way. We don't want that. We don't want to change our culture. We don't want to give in on that. Good. We want to decide on our own destiny. We want to have democracies, and democracies need nations. You cannot have a democracy without a nation. We don't want to overcome a nation, and we don't want to have a huge nation state like the European Union. We don't want to have that. We want to stick to our countries. We want to be good neighbors. We don't want to fight the other neighbors, but we want to keep our societies. And this is what I think is a good European. A good European is one who fights for freedom and independent for free and independent democratic nation states. So in this sense, we are the best Europeans, and they are worse. I think there's one topic one cannot leave apart. This is about migration. This is something I don't really know. I'm not following so closely the public debate here in Great Britain. But of course I'm following it very closely, the public debate we have in Germany, and not only the public debate, but also the way our society is changing, and it is changing. And it's changing in the way we will not accept, and we are always going against. If you have, I don't know if are you familiar with the German numbers, but Germany took in something like 1.5 million migrants within the last 3 years. 1.5 million migrants, which would not be a problem if it would be migrants from Christian countries. We were able to integrate a huge amount of people into our societies, as long as their cultural heritage and their values are somewhat similar to ours. If that's not the case, they do not fit in, and it makes it difficult. We can integrate some, but we cannot integrate so many. And this is another German argument I always make, is the way I took German history lessons was that we don't want to interfere in other countries any longer. We did that, and we were responsible for the worst period of history everyone can imagine, and now Germany is again trying to interfere in other countries by, over the euro currency policy, going into other nation states, or by telling other European countries they have to accept migrants who were invited by the German Chancellor, and then being set up, then being able to travel and come to Great Britain or other European countries. So this is what we do not want to have. Just by the numbers, something like 1.5 million migrants came to Germany, and what we have to pay for that is something like 50 billion euros per year. We have got a federal budget of something like 330 billion, and 50 billion is the cost for the migrants. This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous, and we're going against it. To make that very clear, we are willing to help people in need. We are a strong nation state, or a strong state. Nation must be abolished, but we are willing to help. But we cannot help so many people, and we cannot have the idea of helping everyone in need in the world. And so we have to take our own decisions again, and this is difficult under the law of the European Union. What we're also facing is a huge increase of the criminal rates. It's going up, even though it is only a few days ago that the statistic about the criminal cases were published, and the basic headline was criminal rates are going down, which was true, because overall it was going down. We had something like 150,000 bicycles less stolen, but we had 8,000 people more murdered and raped. So in total, the numbers were going down, The only thing is that we don't care so much about stolen bikes, and we very much care about raped women or murdered people. So they're trying to explain everything is still going on in a normal way. But this is also something we can realize, is that people do not trust any longer in what is published in the media, because when this news came up and the headline was there, criminal rates are going down, everyone was just like wondering how that. I mean, we have got those news every time, every single day in the media, that there is a killing here and a killing there, and rapes here and rapes there, and those numbers are going up. Of course, there are no news about stolen bikes. But people are aware of that. The general line of what politicians are telling them is no longer true, and this is why parties like ours are growing, and this is still why parties like UKIP is also important, because they speak on behalf of the people, I would say that, and they are opposing all the other parties, because all the other parties, in general terms speaking, are more or less similar. I'm, by the way, very surprised that I managed to come here today, because there was a border control. I had to show my passport. They asked me to show my passport. They really did. You know, for German, trained by the public media, this is something impossible. You know, when there is a border line and you have to show your passport, they tell you everything will basically break down. You know, the traffic will stop. No one can overcome the border control. It's almost impossible. We cannot have any borders. We have to have countries without borders. This is what we are used to. So I took pictures from all those signs. You know, border control. Get your passport ready. And then there was a line in Birmingham. 10 minutes, less than 2 minutes of control time. I don't know whether you're aware of that sign. And this is something that, wow, look, that's interesting. Yeah, it functions. Having borders is in general a good idea. The German government said to us that Germany cannot protect its border because it's against the spirit of the European Union. And of course, it's technically not possible to protect our borders. This is why we are gaining votes, because it's technically possible. And this spirit is something what we are going against and not supporting. Basically, the German government has confirmed everything what UKIP always was warning for, and everything what the German government is doing in politics has proven everything is right what UKIP always said, because Germany is pushing towards the ever closer union. Germany is pushing towards the United States of Europe. Germany is pushing for having migrant quotas all over the country. They want even you to accept the migrants we invited to come to basically Germany or Europe. So our Chancellor is in one sense also responsible or biggest supporter of Brexit, at least to some extent. I think the politics of the German Chancellor was helpful for Brexit. So at least I can say this was the German help for Brexit we offer. Just to come to a short end, I was always inspired by UKIP to admit, when I started to be very active in politics, of course I then said I have to go to Brussels to meet Nigel Farage, because I was interested to get to know that guy who was responsible for even then already a strong movement, and he was always his ideas, the way he was acting, always an inspiration for me in politics, long before our party, Alternative for Germany, was founded. I would say in Germany we admire the brave attitude of UKIP people, fighting for so long, such a huge fight for your Independence Day, which you finally had. We admire the way that you supported the idea of going against basically all media in the world, all industry, the churches, the unions, everyone going against you, and you standing up there and fighting a fight which was not always 100% sure that you would win. So this is also something I will take back home. Say I know those UKIP people. They know how to fight, they know how to stick to their ideas, they know how to move on forward even though the times might be difficult. They will not let their people down, they will always move forward because they have ideas they're believing in and they are supporting. And this is what we need, not only in UK or back in Germany or in the European Union. I think this is what is needed in the world, and this is what the world can learn from UKIP, let me put it that way. A very short point in the end, my topic is trade. When it comes to Brexit, and the Brexit deal is going to be denied for you, I hope that our politicians will start to realize at one point that it's in our interest to have a good trade deal with you. We're selling more goods to you. We're selling more goods to you than you're selling to us. So we would be stupid to give that away and no longer realize that UK is a huge marketplace. For example, German cars and other goods as well. But still, that's fact. So I hope that German and European politicians come to start thinking reasonably and stop trying to prove how bad Britain will be off with Brexit, and start realizing that it's all about trade. And this is what my idea of the European Union will be: a huge marketplace. Let's trade. Let's have free trade. Let's exchange our goods. This is in our interest. It's in our interest to get your goods where you're better in, and it's in our interest to sell our goods where we are better in. And let's have a free exchange of the best goods we have. This is in our interest. And everything else what they put on this negotiation at the very moment, all those political ideology, all those United States of Europe ideas, I'm not coming to all the other issues, gender politics and all these rubbish things. We do not need this. I hope in the end we will have a clear deal. I hope we will realize that also in our interest, and this is maybe the most important thing. I'm sure it will be that way in the end. I know at the very moment it looks to be very difficult, but if we stick to those ideas, if we stick to the real, to what is reasonable, and you do as well, and you keep on being and pushing the other parties towards the right direction, that is of importance for all of us. And this is also why I support UKIP. It's because I know it's good for us. Yeah, maybe we come to questions later on. Bill already said my English is
very good.
Very good. Good.
My English is you will see it's my German is very good. I can admit. I'm really very good in German. I almost make no mistakes. I can write it. I can read it. I can speak in German very good. All other language a bit more difficult. But the most important thing for tonight is to say, go out on Thursday and vote for Bill. Thank you.